For 60%, 60% of our students, it should be, in spite of the days of strike, there are ways to basically make it almost a normal year. Yeah? The problem, obviously, is with the students that suffered a month of strikes. And for those students, we're taking these measures to bring them to par as much as possible with the rest of the students in Quebec. But at the end, if you are in the secondary 4 or 5, the ministerial exams that you will be tested on will be on essential learnings, the way we did it with the pandemic, to allow for these students that suffered a month of strike not to be overly penalized because of this long strike that they had to live with. The other thing that we're doing is we're diminishing the weight of these ministerial exams on the final result, the way we did it during the pandemic. This is another way not to penalize the students that had to live with a month of strike.
So there you go. That's Bernard Drainville, the education minister, on how the system is going to play out in terms of exams, depending on what level you happen to be at. Matt Gilmour, CTV News Montreal reporter, there today. Bernard Drainville outlining, Matt, not just one, but 5 different options here. So let's go through this. What else did we learn from the minister today?
Yeah, it's a lot of measures that they're putting in place. They think it's going to cost around $300 million, actually, to do this catch-up plan, they're calling it. They think around 500,000 students across the province probably are now behind because of the strike. And so they've put in a number of measures sort of targeted to help catch those students up before the end of this year. So there are obviously special measures for students with special needs. There's going to be additional tutoring that's been being added to outside the regular school hours, so at lunchtime or after school. The government is going to be paying retired teachers, current teachers, also students in the education programs at universities to come in and try and help catch these students up. Those will be paid positions, and in the amount of money that they get will be based on the new collective agreement that they still have to vote on, but presumably if they do sign it, it'll be based on that. There'll also be some changes to the French language offering for immigrants. There'll be some free summer school for Sec 4 and 5 students to make sure they obtain their diplomas, money for community organizations, and then certain schools, based on the need at that school, could stay open during spring break to allow students to get more additional help during that time.
So just before Natasha falls off her seat, we should mention again, when it comes to spring break, I think the minister made it really clear this was not his position to say yay or nay for who or what gets to happen.
Yeah, the minister is not, as he put it today, in a position to actually say we're canceling spring break. That's something that would need to be negotiated between the school boards and service centers and the local unions for every for every school, for every service center. And so he's not able to do that. But what he is able to do is say, we're going to leave the school open, and on a voluntary basis, if you're a student that needs additional help or you're a teacher that is willing to provide that help, you can use the school during that time.
There is no way. They would not dare in a million years
cancel March break. They're going to be very empty schools is what they're going to find.
No, but some people might show up, but they wouldn't dare cancel March break. What I'm wondering, Matt, is have you had a chance to speak to any teachers and any parents, and how are people reacting to this?
Well, we did speak to some parents this morning on the way in to school, and there was some concern, especially for some of the older students about how this month off, seven weeks actually since students in FAE schools were last in the classroom. There is some concern about how this will affect them, but obviously they're going to wait and see how this program helps. We also heard from the FAE union leadership, who look at this with cautious optimism. They appreciate the fact that teachers are going to kind of be at the center of rolling this out, determining what the need is, and then being able to recommend different programs for the students, and then the government will then fund those programs. But they're also urging teachers to use this as an opportunity to really do a proper evaluation of each one of their students, and to sort of be able to show the government and the ministry this is how many students are behind. This is the level of catch-up that's needed. And to not really hold back in those evaluations based on this perceived finite amount of money that the government has put forward, they really want teachers to say, hey, look, there's an accumulation of things that have held these students back. We're talking about underfunding of the system, talking about the pandemic, and now the strikes. And they want to have the teachers really use this as an opportunity to say, this is where we're at. And they want this additional funding, these additional resources to carry over into next year if need be, or into the year after that.
You asked the question during the press conference, and I found this interesting because at the time the minister sort of refused to answer, as he's doing with everything related to a strike. You brought this up. You said, I think this was you, Matt. You said, you're putting $300 million and you're making that available here for these programs. What if you had taken that $300 million and made it available that could have possibly averted a strike, right? And he didn't answer.
And let me just add to that the fact that this plan puts more pressure on teachers at a time that they're about to vote on the deal that's been negotiated for them.
Yeah, so two things. First of all, I asked the question, and I don't know the details of the, especially when it comes to working conditions and all these additional resources. That stuff, is still it's still unclear, and we do have to wait for the teachers to vote on them. And again, the minister would not answer any questions pertaining to the negotiations and to the agreement until after it's been voted on by the members. So he obviously didn't answer. But, I brought that up because, I wanted to sort of say, like, hey, you're putting all this money on the table to help students. This is sort of what the teachers were asking for. And based on the statement from the FAE after, it seems like they're like, yes, this is the money that we're asking for. Let's keep this going until the needs are met.
Last thing, because we're going to run out of time here, I will point out again, with respect, I know parents out there are wondering, based on what we heard today, the end of the school year, that date has not been changed.
No, that's the thing. So the calendar remains basically the same. They are going to push ministry exams back 2 weeks to give students more time in the classroom for learning and for preparation. But the end of class will still happen before June 24th. Okay. This is always the case. And we talked about spring break already. And I also thought, interestingly, PED days are at this point not going to be converted. Whatever remaining number of PED days there are will stay. But he did say that he's going to probably ask the service centers and the school boards to negotiate with the local unions to perhaps convert some PED days into teaching days.